was revealed recently that the Southern Baptist Convention has been covering up allegations of sexual abuse for decades. And Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me to talk about this and many other issues. Finally, this story is being told. I look at this story, they're doing a little bit better than the Catholics have done. Catholics have covered this up since the 1940s and 50s, but now they did an independent search, they did an independent study, and the independent study was not good for them, but they're willing to talk about it. What's your take?
At least they're admitting, okay, we've got some problems, and yes, the way we're structured basically is what led to a lot of these problems, and that's really something that I think most people don't quite understand here. The Southern Baptist Convention isn't necessarily like the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has dominion over all Catholic churches. They're all interconnected. With Southern Baptist, each church is basically allowed to do their own thing. We're not going to oversee you or dictate you. We don't even get involved in your problems for the most part. So that's what actually led to a lot of these problems, because they're happening at these independent congregations. So starting in about 2007, I think it was, they started getting these reports in to the main body of the Southern Baptist Convention. And that's when things start to go a little south for the whole thing. They knew that these complaints were coming in. They weren't exactly taking the action. They said, okay, well, we're going to let you deal with this. This is your business. We're just here to, sign the paperwork.
It's the same conduct. Okay, the same conduct we see with the Catholic Church, we see with the Mormon Church, we see with all of these cults that are arising everywhere. Okay, so suppress the reports, do everything that you can to suppress the reports, cover it up, make sure it doesn't ever see the light of day, or whether it's sexual abuse, no matter how horrendous the sexual abuse is, and then resist reform, okay? As long as we can, resist reform. We don't want to talk about it because it's going to hurt us. And then the other thing is vilify and attack the people who are making the accusations and hope they go away. Is that kind of what's happened here?
Oh, absolutely. And, that is also another big part of this, too. It's not just we're going to ignore it, we're going to pretend it's not happening, we don't want the bad publicity. It is, let's discredit the men and women that are coming forward with these allegations of abuse. These people that have been through these horrifically traumatizing experiences, let's make their life hell. Yeah. Let's make it so much worse for them rather than admitting and solving a problem. Listen, there's so many organizations out there that have had instances like this, whether it's the Boy Scouts, the Catholic Church, as we mentioned, we've talked about tons of them on this show. The difference is, what do you do with this? Mm-hmm. If there is a bad actor in your organization, purge the bad actor.
Right.
Make sure you let people know that, yeah, we had a problem, we've fixed it, we're making sure there's no other problems. It always comes back to the cover-up, and it always ends up getting exposed, which makes the problem 10 times worse for the organization.
Yeah, they protect and support the abuser. They vilify the victim. Matter of fact, in this, there's a real split here. I know you've seen this. There's two very distinctive divisions in this story. One is that division that says, well, we're just going to attack everybody. We're just going to say, matter of fact, a woman that came forward to help get this out there, they said it was a satanic scheme to distract from our evangelism. So you have that side, and then you've got other folks that are saying, no, this is a good thing because we can come up with a system like the Catholics still refuse to do. Since 1940, they still won't do it. There's still clergy, sexually abusing across the board. There's still priests that move up the ladder of importance in the Catholic Church, and they don't do anything about it. But the Southern Baptists are saying, well, at least part of them are saying this is a great opportunity because we can fix this right now if we'll get hands-on. What you think, to me, do you see some differences here?
I absolutely see differences. I mean, the Catholic Church would rather, just kind of bury their heads in the sands, pretend that, oh, no, this isn't a problem. That person was moved. Well, you didn't mention that they were just moved 2 towns over and given a whole new congregation. Everything was covered up. At least with this one, there are plenty of people on the inside who say, we have to do something about this. These individuals have to go. The story has to be publicized. And going back to that as well, I know there's been a lot of news happening in the last 2 weeks, but this story has already died.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's truly remarkable. I mean, you've got, countless victims here that are seeking justice, that are trying to speak out, and the media has already moved on.
Yeah, so you've got two things that can come out of this, that the Catholics were told to do a long time ago, that the Boy Scouts were told to do a long time ago, that the Mormon Church was told to do a long time ago, didn't do it. That is to have a centralized information service, a center where we keep up with this music teacher who has been reported 3 times for improper conduct with children. Put that into a centralized system where we can take a look and we can find out where these people are and what are they doing. That's the first thing. And the second thing is they're talking about doing away with the non-disclosure agreements, to where if we come after you and you have to pay money, you can't hide that. This non-disclosure thing is not going to be permitted anymore because it's so destructive.
Right, and that again, huge problem with all of these organizations is that if allegations have been leveled against one person and it's not publicized, there is no way for them to know when they try to move to a different area that this has happened with this individual or has been alleged to happen. The database would solve that problem like that.
Yeah.